Welcome back to another video in the Simple Tips to Keep Your Money and Identity Safe in a Digital World series. This presentation is brought to you by ElderWatch, and today we'll be talking about the pros and cons of automation. This presentation is brought to you by ElderWatch. ElderWatch is a 20-plus year collaboration between AARP and the Colorado Attorney General's Office. Our goal is to provide education and support to Coloradans 50 plus in the realms of fraud and financial literacy. So to that end, let's get started on the pros and cons of automation. All right, so welcome back to another video in the Simple Tips to Keep Your Money and Identity Safe in a Digital World series. Besides this video today, which is going to be about automation, we have also talked about multi-factor authentication and password managers. We've talked about computer safety tools, and that one is broken up into two videos because there's a lot of computer safety tools. And we've also covered robocalls, phishing, smishing, and vishing. But today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of automation. And when I say automation specifically, we're going to be talking about auto pay options and auto renewal options. Now, with these two topics, we are leaning more towards the financial literacy side of ElderWatch as opposed to the identity theft and fraud side. So I want to keep your money safe by helping you read the fine print and understand these two topics that can be tools to protecting your money, but they can also potentially get you into some trouble. So first, we'll talk about what is auto pay and what are its benefits. More importantly, what are potentially some of the pitfalls. We'll also talk about what auto renewal is, and similarly, what are some of the benefits of auto renewal? What are some of the pitfalls? We'll also talk about what to do if you get charged for an auto renewal or an auto pay that you forgot to cancel or you thought you canceled. And then we'll end with a small but mighty tip to further help keep your money safe. So auto pay is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Auto pay is setting up an automatic payment that will automatically be taken out of your bank account at an agreed upon cadence. You might use auto pay for example, buy now, pay later apps, which if you don't know what that is, we covered it in the series, so go check it out. But you might use auto pay for those payments. You might also use auto pay for things like insurance payments, for rent, for credit cards. You can really apply it to a lot of different kinds of bills and regular recurring payments. You can sometimes even use it for subscriptions for physical products. So, for example, Amazon has a program called Subscribe and Save. That is an auto pay. It's not necessarily an auto renewal, but it kind of is, I guess. But that will automatically come out of your account, that money, and then you will automatically get that product on a particular cadence of your choosing. Auto pay can be great, but it can also get you into trouble from time to time. Personally, I have certain things on autopay and I have certain things that I have as calendar reminders. But before we kind of get into what are the benefits of autopay, I do want to remind everyone that I am not here to offer financial or legal advice. Everybody's situation is just a little bit different. Everybody's circumstances are unique and individual. So take this information and consider it and how it might help or hinder you and your financial goals. But the first benefit of autopay is set it and forget it, by which I mean you don't have to think about this at all, which can be really helpful. For one, you can, if you would like to, you can sometimes choose the date of your auto pay. So you can line it up with, for example, when you get paid, or you could set all of your auto pay subscriptions, products, whatever, to come out on the same day. So that way you are looking at all of those transactions on one day instead of, paying each thing individually and incurring that opportunity cost. Autopay is also a very important step if you want to do the pay yourself first budgeting method. Now, I'm not going to get into budgeting methods and philosophies and theories and all that stuff in this video. We do have a lot of great content on budgeting here on our YouTube page, as well as in the Money Talks 50 Plus podcast. But for our purposes today, the pay yourself first method it helps to handle the problem of money burning a hole in your hand, as my mom would say. So instead of you getting, I don't know, let's say you get $2,500 a month. So instead of you getting $2,500 and then having to parse that out individually, put it in all of the buckets individually, autopay will take out the bill payments that you have selected before you even see the money. So now instead of dealing with parsing out that $2,500, you're only dealing with parsing out, for example, let's say your bills on autopay are $500. So now you're only dealing with sending out $2,000, which can help you from overspending in certain categories and make sure that the things that you need to be paid, like your bills, your rent, your credit cards, whatever, that those are getting paid first. Now, sometimes you will also get a discount if you sign up for auto pay, but that might be at the cost of fees. So auto pay, one of the reasons it can be great is that if you get to set it and forget it, you hopefully don't incur a late fee, right? Because then that thing is being paid for on time. However, if, let's say, for example, you have an auto pay, it's $50 and it comes out on the first of the month every month. But then on April 1st, you only have $40 in the bank account that comes from. Now, usually what happens is the vendor who gets the auto pay, they're still going to come and try to take that money out of your account. So then your account will go into the negative, then the payment will likely be returned. And so here you've incurred multiple fees because first, if you didn't realize that the payment didn't go through, you might incur a late fee if you don't then pay it on time. But then you might also incur a fee for your account being overdrafted. You might also incur a returned payment fee. So there's definitely a lot of pros to autopay, but depending on, again, who you are as a person, your specific circumstances, how good you are at remembering and managing all of these things, it might not be as helpful as you hoped. Now, auto renewal is pretty similar to auto pay. And again, it pretty much means exactly what it sounds like. Auto renewal means that your contract or subscription, whatever it is going to be renewed without you having to do anything at all. Usually this is at the end of, for example, a free trial or just when that month's subscription or whatever has come to an end. So for example, I use a Wi-Fi pass and my Wi-Fi pass is set up to auto renew. So what happens is, for example, on the first of the month, my Wi-Fi pass contract is automatically regenerated. I'm on like a monthly contract, I guess is the best way to state it. And so then I don't have to sign anything. I don't have to do anything. And then it's also set to auto pay. So then the money just comes out 1, 2, 3, easy peasy. Now, again, this is one that can have pros and cons. So let's talk about that next. The benefits of auto renewal are pretty similar to the benefits of auto pay, but it is the cons of auto renewal that get a little bit different. So similar to auto pay, if you set auto renewal, it lets you do the set it and forget it. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to do paperwork. You don't need to sign anything. So that can be helpful if you're happy with whatever the subscription or product is that you are receiving. Now, like autopay, sometimes companies will offer you discounts if you choose to set up auto renewal. And if we think about this, it kind of makes sense, right? Because if you're going to set up auto renewal, you'll probably forget to cancel it if you decide you want to cancel it, in which case the company makes more money, but they also then know that they have this consistent stream of revenue. So logistically, that kind of makes sense for everybody involved, right? There's an incentive to you to sign up for auto renewal, and then the company also then makes sure that they are getting this payment at a regular cadence. Now, one thing that can surprise some people, so I'm going to list this as a con of auto renewal, is that it is sometimes the default option or what is called a negative option. So if, for example, you sign up for, I don't know, a free subscription of depends. Let's say you sign up for a subscription, you had a free trial, so the first month is free. And so you might think that if you don't do anything, that it would just cancel, right? You get the one free one and then you decide if you want to sign up again. But usually that's not actually how it works. Usually the way that it works is if you sign up for a free trial, you are then, if you sign your contract, saying that you're going to auto renew. So it'll say after this contract or term or whatever ends, we will auto renew at whatever the rate is. Now, another issue with auto renewal can be that it might renew at a different rate than you selected. So you might have received a promotional rate, and if you weren't reading the fine print, you might have thought that that promotional rate was going to be the rate that you had the entire time, only to find out that when it renews, it's 2 or 3 times higher. Now, there are a couple of other just little things in the fine print, but the overall umbrella that I want you to remember is to check that fine print and remember that it's very rare that anything in life is truly free. It seems like just about everything out there has some kind of subscription tied to it, which inherently usually means that there is an auto pay or an auto renewal option that you might encounter. And so, because there's so many subscriptions out there for everything, you might inevitably forget about a subscription or a free trial that you have in place, get charged for it, and then be frustrated because you did not intend to keep whatever that thing was, and now you're out of some money. So what are your options? Firstly, I would say to contact the provider, the company, whoever it is, directly and see if you can find a resolution that way. If, for example, today is Tuesday, let's say my subscription renewed yesterday on Monday, I called the company today, only 24 hours has passed, so sometimes they'll be willing to work with you on that charge to rectify the problem. Sometimes what will also happen is you might get offered a discounted rate for that subscription to alleviate your frustrations. So this one is kind of more specifically with streaming services. So if you cancel, instead of just saying okay bye, they might give you the option to continue with your subscription at a discounted rate for 3 months. Now, of course, you have to remember to cancel the subscription in 3 months because that discounted rate is not going to last forever and probably won't be as forgiving if you've already taken this good faith measure from them. So definitely make sure you cancel it in the end. But contacting the provider should probably be your first course of action. Now, whether that works or not, you still want to be paying attention to your bank statements. I mean, you should do that regardless because that's kind of one of the top ways to make sure that you are preventing scammers from taking a lot of money from you. But whether it's a scammer or not, watching your bank statements is important because let's say that you did cancel the subscription successfully and you see a charge the next month for that subscription. That's a problem, and that's going to lead us into the third thing on there, which is to contact your bank. So specifically in that situation where you cancel the subscription, now you're seeing a recurring payment, or let's say you canceled the auto renewal, I don't know, in April, and then now it's June and you're seeing this yearly annual payment on your bank account, you need to contact your bank if working with the company directly didn't work. Most of the time, you'll have to file a dispute. Sometimes you'll get a chargeback while that investigation is occurring. To this end, it's also important to keep any paperwork, email, correspondence, whatever, that would support your case. Because if, let's say it's a really big company and your bank, says, well, no, you didn't cancel this, you want to be able to prove your case. So keep hold of receipts and things like that would show that you did what you said you did. And then lastly, if contacting the bank and the provider doesn't work, contact your state attorney general's office. They can sometimes work in different ways, especially if something illegal is happening, to help protect your identity and your money from these auto renewal subscriptions and otherwise just bad actors operating in this corporate space. All right, so this small but mighty tip, when I first learned about it, blew my mind because it's such a game changer. And the small but mighty tip is you can often cancel a subscription, specifically when it's a free trial or some kind of promotional offer, right after you sign up for it. And then you'll still be able to get the benefits of that subscription. So in this